Williamson. Oh my God, what a strong start for uncommitted, folks. Hoo-wee! At the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to commit to seeing those ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free with the Twitch Prime. We are now going to CNN. If you're still in line to vote uncommitted, stay in line, ladies and gentlemen.
Are being challenged. But talking with Democratic officials, of course, one of the president's biggest challenges is progressive voters, black voters, Latino voters. Of course, Michigan was ground zero for that. Joe Biden sort of pulled all of those factions of the Democratic Party together 4 years ago. Now that coalition is fraying. But Jake, I had an instructive conversation with a pastor here in Detroit earlier today. He said the biggest worry for the White House, the biggest worry for the Biden campaign is apathetic voters. He said apathetic voters don't go out and vote uncommitted. They simply stay home. And that, he believes, is the biggest worry for President
Ariel, Syntax Sarah, thank you for the 5. Get the subs.
And Krista, what is the former president, Donald Trump, looking for when votes come in from Michigan?
Well, Donald Trump is expected to handily win this primary against Nikki Haley, but instead his team is looking for clues to inform a potential general election rematch with President Joe Biden. As you noted, Jake, Donald Trump won Michigan in 2016 and then lost to Biden in 2020. And in a recent poll in Fox News of Michigan voters, they looked at a hypothetical rematch between the two, and Trump had 47% of support over Biden's 45%. Now, that is well within the margin of error, but gives you an idea of how close this race could potentially be. Now, many of Trump's allies believe that Michigan is the key to the pathway back to the White House. And here's what they're looking for tonight. They are looking at, first, moderate Republican voters. So far in this primary season, they have leaned away from the former president. The other thing that they are looking for is an area that Donald Trump has underperformed in several of these contests, which is suburban voters. This is going to be critical in Michigan in the fall. Now, one of the hopes of these advisors is that with all of these resounding early wins in Nevada, in Iowa, in New Hampshire, that some of those voters, some of those moderates, some of those suburban voters are going to shift towards Donald Trump.
All right, Kristen Holmes, thanks so much. Diane Gallagher is at a polling place in Ann Arbor, Michigan, home to the University of Michigan Fighting Wolverines. Diane, what's happening?
What's your bet on the uncommitted percentage? I have no idea.
That's right, Jake, and we have just shut down this polling center right here. I have with me precinct chairperson Jenny Rogers, who is going to read to me the results from her particular precinct, number 437. And Jenny, what does this summary say as it's coming out?
So on the Republican Party ballot, we have 73 votes cast for Nikki Haley, 23 votes for Donald Trump, and 1 uncommitted. And on the Democratic ballot, we've got 195 votes for Joe Biden, 1 vote for Dean Phillips, 4 votes for Marianne Williamson, 66 uncommitted, and 1 write-in. And that's it. A total of 364 votes cast today.
What's the write-in?
All right, that is precinct 437 here in Ann Arbor. And of course, look, Jake, you mentioned, of course, home to the University of Michigan. This is a blue area in more than one way, though. Look, President Joe Biden beat Donald Trump with about 72% of the vote in 2020. So the expectation was to have a greater number.
Chad, I'm seeing a shutout. It's probably Jank. And they're not saying the name because say his name, okay? They don't want to say his name. They're afraid of the jank attack.
Young vote here. Again, this is just a snapshot of this area, one precinct of many in the Ann Arbor area. Jake.
All right, Diane Gallagher, thanks so much. And it's the turn of the hour, so we have a key race alert for you. Let's bring you some of the numbers as they come in on the Republican side in the Republican primary in Michigan. With 1% of the vote in, Donald Trump is in the lead with 54.4% of the vote. He has 10,950 votes, roughly 3,000 votes ahead of Nikki Haley, who has 39.8% of the vote. She has 8,011 votes. Obviously, it is very early. We only have 1% of the vote in, but those are actual votes, not polls. And now we have some Democratic numbers to look at. And the Democratic primary in the state of Michigan with 117 delegates at stake, President Joe Biden, the incumbent, with 4% of the vote in, has 88.3% of the vote. Uncommitted is coming in second That's at 7.2%. And Dean Phillips, the congressman from Minnesota, is at 2.1%.
Hello.
President Joe Biden has 31,753 votes, and that is roughly 30,000
Uncommitted,
votes
let's
ahead
go.
of uncommitted, which is a number we're going to be.
Obviously, it wasn't like it was never going to win, right? But like the point is to see if they can do like even a dent.
Both Democrats and Republicans, one of the things we're going to be looking at tonight is the size of the number 2 vote to see how much of a protest that is.
Momentum says, just going to put it out and say, I don't personally expect the uncommitted vote to have eye-popping numbers. There's a 100% real discontent towards Biden, but it's not the sort of thing that manifests in a low turnout in an uncontested Democratic primary. Yes, I think the real uncommitted people are not going to go out and vote. Let's be real. But the fact that there are people out there who are taking the time out of their day to go to an uncontested primary to vote uncommitted is very important. It would be a massive, in my opinion, victory for the uncommitted campaign, especially because of like when it got started. It wasn't like it is relatively new. And on top of that, it came in a situation where if you're actually uncommitted, you just don't vote. I feel like you're disingenuous. You were a Burgum head and you've totally abandoned the cause. Yeah. I think people should 100% do it, and that's an important message to send, but we should be aware of what the baseline we're working off here. Trump has created a very intense loyalty towards them politicians among the kinds of voters who show up to this. Important thing to remember here, if the vote is under 10%, people will say Biden did better than Obama to hype him up. That is not a good comparison. The constituency of ancestral Dems who went out of their way to vote against Obama in 2012 does not exist now. New York Times reporting 10% uncommitted. Biden's at 85%. Marianne Williamson and D. Phillips at 2.5 and 2.2%. 10% of the vote is uncommitted, according to New York Times. This early, it's only 5% of the votes coming in right now, folks.
A few minutes ago, and they transmitted their numbers up to the county, giving you a preliminary look at District 9, Precinct 9 here in Waterford and Oakland County. 230 total votes came in. 44 of them were for Democrats, 185 for Republicans. On the Democratic side of things, Biden got 29, Dean Phillips won, uncommitted.
Why do people talk about Trump's voter loyalty when he only has 60% of the Republican vote? People don't want either candidate. If this is your expectation, my friend, you are in for a major surprise come general election. Donald Trump's Republican base of support is infinitely more loyal and also infinitely larger, I guess, percentage-wise. Not larger than Joe Biden's loyal base of support, maybe even in totality, but definitely percentage-wise. Donald Trump, throughout his entire tumultuous career, has rarely ever dipped below 90% approval rating in the Republican Party. This is a fact that I used to show to liberals all the time, and it blew their fucking minds when I would bring this up. I'd be like, dude, you think Donald Trump's approval ratings are low? That's fine. That makes sense. A lot of Democrats fucking hate him. But look at his approval rating in the party. It's barely below 90% in the Republican Party. Joe Brandon's approval rating currently is significantly lower than that in his own party. So that's something to remember. That means there's not a lot of motivation even amongst party loyalists for Joseph Robinette Brandon. This will lead to depressive voter turnout.
This would be for District 9 that we were just talking about. The numbers for Biden were 29 votes and uncommitted was 13.
Very interesting.
Here in Waterford.
Okay, Omar, thanks so much. What do you make of that? I mean, 13 uncommitted, 29 for Biden. That's a lot of uncommitted. It's a small sample.
I know it's early, but do you see yourself voting third party? That's so funny. Dude, one, I live in California, and two, like, third party votes is the same as writing fucking Harambe. You might as well write Harambe in the fucking, in the little box there, okay?
With what you're seeing in the math here. And the question is, in other precincts, obviously,
Sorry,
he's doing
don't
better
care,
than
voting
what
jank.
Omar just said in the county so far. But the question is, where's that number? You're right. How significant is it? Because, look, there's a history of voted uncommitted in the Michigan Democratic primary, so we want to be careful not to overstate it. At the same time, having been there, and our reporters on the ground there, Jeff Zeleny is in the heart of this in Dearborn, just west of Detroit. If Joe Biden is still fighting for his base it makes it harder to beat Donald Trump. And Michigan, look at 2016. Trump beat Hillary Clinton in Michigan, broke the blue wall, won Wisconsin, went on to the White House. Joe Biden flipped the script, right? One Michigan, one Wisconsin, one your home state of Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth in 2020. This is the fight. The old blue wall, which has now become the Midwestern battlegrounds in a presidential election. If you come out to this and go back to look at it, let me come out, that's the primaries, but let me come here and look at it. This is the fight, right? This is it. It's here, here, and here, and here, and possibly here, but these three states tend to go. And Joe Biden's victory in Michigan in 2020 was his most comfortable of these three, 154,000 votes. The question is, if you have most of the 200,000 Muslim Americans who live in Michigan mad at you, and you have a lot of the young students who were key to the Democratic victory in 2020 and the Democratic wins in Michigan in 2022 mad at you, then you're dealing with that. You're dealing with a base problem when you need to be reaching out to get the other guys' votes, especially.
Yeah, this is why you watch me instead of CNN, okay? Because I'm here to tell you the real truth. I'm here to show you the things that libtard media is too afraid to show you, which is that here's the real electoral map if Cenk is the candidate for the Democratic Party. Okay? As you can see, Florida still hates him. Obviously, Florida is a lost territory. We are going to be working under the Cenk regime on severing our ties with the state of Florida. And also, we are going to give Alaska back to Russia. So in anticipation of that, both Alaska and Florida have decided not to vote for Cenk, which is a major mistake, right? The rest of the country, of course, is united. This is a FDR-style sweeping victory that will that will inevitably yield the New Deal. Okay, that's right. If Cenk becomes president, do you become the first nephew of the country? Hell yeah, I do. And I live out my Hunter Biden-esque dreams. Okay. Hunter Biden, the first son, the prodigal first son, watch out, okay? The first nephew is going to be out of control. Labor secretary, White House. I'm leading I'm the labor secretary and I'm doing all communications. Double oligarch, baby. Wasn't enough that I'm an oligarch in Turkey, but I'm also an oligarch in America.
In those uncommitted votes is a certain candidate decides not to contest the state. Right back in 2008, the uncommitted vote was way higher because both Barack Obama and John Edwards didn't play in Michigan, and their voters voted uncommitted to sort of say, I want to go out and vote for my guy, but I can't vote for my guy. So it was much higher then. So the question this time, though, is there's nobody like that. There's not another Democratic candidate who said, oh, I'm going to skip Michigan because Biden's strong there. So that, I think, is a true protest vote. As opposed to in years past where there were different reasons for it. Or it's just, maybe let's not overstate that it's all about Israel-Gaza. Uncommitted is going to tell us people who had a chance to vote for an incumbent Democratic president or vote for his long shot challenger, and they chose to vote uncommitted. So it tells you, number one, they're unhappy. They're looking for something else than that. And then the question is, and our reporters on the ground.
Bro, they're literally saying we went out of our fucking way in an uncontested primary to go and vote to say, fuck you. It shows motivation in the worst way possible. People don't do that. Who the fuck does that? Think about it. Who goes out of their way to say, fuck you, unless there is a real issue? Would you still stream on Twitch if you're labor secretary? Bro, if I'm labor secretary, daily propaganda that every American has to watch, okay? At gunpoint. You go to jail if you don't fucking say nice things about me and nice things about socialism. That's my promise.
Doesn't really matter what happens during the primary. Joe Biden's going to win the Democratic primary, but we're here, and Donald Trump only won Michigan by 10,000 votes in 2016.
With 8% of the votes coming in.
You need us. Let me go to Diane Gallagher, who's at a voting location right now. And Diane, you're in Ann Arbor. What are people telling you about this uncommitted vote?
The exact conversation that you and John were just having. I spoke with several uncommitted voters here in Ann Arbor.
Under a Cenk President Xi, if you know what I mean. Under a Cenk jank presidency, we're doing re-education camps for Republicans. I'm sorry. If you're a Republican, you're engaging in counter-revolutionary activities, you're going to fucking re-education camp. It's fine. Okay? And I'd be a despot too. I'm talking like, oh, I'm sorry. Did you say you love jalapeno poppers? Well, guess what? I do too. But now I feel like you might be a conservative. Re-education camp. Okay? 100%. I will make Xinjiang look like a fucking theme park. Do you understand? Re-education camp for every conservative in the country. Every single one.
Of that protest to let the president, who they did.
Conservative politicians, jail. Perma-jail. Gulag. Work camps. Time to get a job, bitch. Sorry. You're going to be making license plates.
41-39. That's almost a tie, right? So that's one precinct. She's here. Washtenaw County is where Ann Arbor is. So countywide, Biden's doing much better, but still 25%. A 25%, this is a college. This is the main voting block here it's Ann Arbor, the college town. So you have students who could vote there, then you have the entire, the infrastructure.
Don't you think Dems deserve that? I said counter-revolutionary. So, depends. Are you a Democrat that thinks, oh, we just simply can't have good things? Sorry, not under a Drank presidency. You're also engaging in counter-revolutionary behavior. You're also going to re-education. You will forcibly like this public health care, okay? I will re-educate you until you like public health care. Do you understand what I'm saying?
The energy was about Israel-Gaza. Now, the question is, as time passes and as the president's tone...
How about billionaires? What's a billionaire? I don't even know what that means because it doesn't exist and we've wiped it from the history books. So no, the word itself is banned. How about instituting a terms of service for the entire country? No more B word, okay? It's gone. So are the billionaires in general. The word doesn't exist.
Go over to the panel right now. Is that what we're doing? Let me toss it to Dana. Dana Bash, on to you.
Thank you. And, you know, as we continue that conversation, one of the main reasons we are so focused on Michigan tonight isn't because, and we can just repeat this, isn't because we are not sure who's going to win the Democratic primary and who's going to win.
Someone in the chat said, are you re-educating your parents? Absolutely, my friend. If they engage in counter-revolutionary behavior, you think I would betray the revolution? 100% going to re-education. Sorry, mom and dad. You like capitalism? Guess what? Re-education for you.
Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Everybody thought Hillary Clinton was going to win that primary. Bernie Sanders eked it out. And if you fast forward to the fall of 2016, Hillary Clinton ended up losing Michigan. And so that's one of many examples throughout recent history of places like Michigan and Michigan itself being a harbinger for problems that a candidate has in a primary that bear out in the general election. Is that one of the things that you're looking at and looking for here, David Chalian?
Definitely one of the things to look for in any primary contest, I think, is what, and it's not a one-for-one situation, we should note that, but what general election vulnerabilities are exposed by the coalition of folks that come out and vote the way they do inside the context of your primary? Because we all know politics is a game of addition, right? And you need a unified base of support from your own partisans to be in the ballgame for a general election. And so looking for cracks in the Biden coalition in these Democratic vote tallies tonight is what we're looking for. I mean, I'll just note, with 7% of the estimated vote in now, the uncommitted vote is already at 11,607 raw votes. So they've already crossed the ridiculously low expectation setting that they had set for 10,000. But we've only got 7% of the estimated vote in. So they're at 11,000 now. That raw vote number is going to grow throughout this evening, perhaps substantially. So we'll see how much of a protest statement is made here. But it doesn't mean, and this is important for us to remember all day long, that every single one of those uncommitted votes is a Donald Trump vote in the fall or a stay-at-home, no Joe Biden vote. Perhaps the vast majority of these folks who are participating...
Dude, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we hit fucking 20%. That's crazy. I thought maybe 10%. I thought 10%. I was fucking... I guess I hit a very low expectation there. I think 10% is pretty good, pretty
getting
solid.
The base energized
which is clearly a large protest vote, will make it very clear about the amount of work that they have to do here. Which will be interesting, too, is just the challenges that each candidate has within their own party. For Biden, it is clearly the base. It's younger voters, minority voters, and here, Muslim voters, Arab American voters. Trump, the right of center voters, the suburban voters, those are the people that have been voting for Nikki Haley. How much of vulnerability do we see from him in tonight's results? So, as David said, we know the outcome here. The impact, what it means for November is what we're going to have to scrutinize here.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, we're doing vibe punditry, right? Because we know how it's going to end. We know Biden's going to win it. We know Trump's going
to... Wait, as opposed to what? That's all punditry. The fuck? That's literally all punditry.
And Donald Trump in the days ahead. I mean, one of the things, which is, I think it was a point that David made when we were on TV 14,000 years ago this morning, is one of the things I'm looking for is what is Nikki Haley's number when she's not been campaigning in Michigan, right? That shows you the more organic base kind of number. But, also we were just talking about Ann Arbor. That's a town, I'm sure, that went for Bernie Sanders in 2020. So it's heavy with college students. And, it's early to figure out the vibes quite yet.
Although I believe that Michigan and Michigan State are on spring break right now. I've been reliably informed from a Michigander. We're counting down to our first chance to make projections in the Michigan primaries. And we're awaiting more results from polling places that have just closed. Up next, we're going to talk with Nikki Haley, as she's now warning Republicans that nominating Donald Trump.
Oh my God, she's such a fucking loser, dude. It's awesome.
Elliot Spitzer,
oh God,
crusading governor by day.
Bro, that's so cool. Just absolutely getting cumstered in your own home state and then only to get cumstered once again in fucking Michigan to go on CNN smiling, thriving, We need you, Nikki, right now. She off the perk? What is she doing? It's so sick. Oh, God. No.
We need you, Nikki, right now to lead our nation. We need you, Nikki. No doubt. Lead the conversation. We need you, Nikki, right now. 'Cause families are hurting. We need you, Nikki. We need more freedom, more jobs for certain. We need you, Nikki, to stay united, to bring together a land divided. We need you, Nikki, to heal the sorrow and help our kids have a better tomorrow. We need you, Nikki, right now to lead our nation. We need you, Nikki, no doubt. Lead the conversation. We need you, Nikki, right now. 'Cause families are hurting. We need you, Nikki. We need more freedom, more jobs for certain. Underestimate me, that should be fun. She said when they asked her about her run. But we all know that she is the one to be our leader.
You know what would make this better? Like a little rap verse. You know what I mean? Like a little bit of rap verse. I think when I hear a song like this, I'm thinking like it requires a little bit of rap. Like some Christian rap.
We need more freedom, more jobs for certain.
Oh, wait, what?
There's lots of noise in politics. People hitting each other with great big sticks. But Nikki Haley stands above the rest. She's been fully put to the test. With Trump, the bully, who is afraid to fight against 5-inch heels with twice his might. And Biden, who's dying to drain our reserves. When voters come out, he'll get his deserves.
We need you, Nikki, right now to lead our nation. We need you, Nikki, no doubt.
God, it's so good. This is the third time in a week that I've entered the stream and you're just listening to this damn song, Lamau. No, dude, it's so good. We need you, Nikki, right now to heal our nation.
We have another key race alert for you with actual votes coming in the Michigan Democratic Party primary. Incumbent President Joe Biden is in the lead with 78.7%. He has 67,346 votes. That is 53,553 votes ahead of uncommitted. But that's still a pretty big number for uncommitted.
Dude, even CNN's like, that's crazy, dog.
13,793 votes. If that trend continues, that's going to be pretty big. Dean Phillips pulling up the rear, 2.6% of the vote. On the Republican side, Donald Trump, no surprise, in the lead with 63.7% of the vote. That's 60,879 votes, almost 30,000 votes ahead of Nikki Haley, who has 32.4% of the vote. That's with 7% of the estimated vote in. John King, we're seeing increasing numbers of votes, actual votes coming in. It's exciting. Where are they coming in from?
Where they're coming in from is
breaking. The
interesting.
uncommitted campaign will likely receive, at the very least, one delegate at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago.
You're right. We said 20,000 votes seems to be the normal vote, traditional vote for uncommitted. With about 8% of the estimated vote, you're already up to almost 14,000. So that tells you that number is going to go up. Here's what tells me it's going to go up even more. We have nothing. I'm going to start where we have no votes. That's backwards, right? Normally on an election night, you go where you have votes. This is Wayne County. This is where Detroit is, the campus of Wayne State, among the places we visited where there was a lot of anti-Biden sentiment, not big picture, but because of Israel-Hamas.
Bro, that's probably not good,
Detroit suburbs, Interstate 94, just to the west of Detroit. That's where Jeff Zeleny is. That's where you have your largest population of Muslim American, Arab American, and many Christians as well, Christian Palestinians, people who trace their family heritage back to the Middle East, who are mad at Biden. Some say abandon Biden, some just say protest Biden. That number is going to tell us a lot. When we see Wayne County, it's also the largest population center in the state of Michigan. So we're going to get the most votes from here. It's the Democratic base. This is it. So critical for the president. What else are we seeing? So you just pop around a few other places. This is Oakland County. As I mentioned, critical to winning the state of Michigan. Win Wayne County. Then you go out into the suburbs. You have Oakland here, Macomb here. 13%. You have 13.5%, 14% if you round that up. Again, let's be careful. He's getting 80% of the vote. He's the president of the United States. He's getting 80%.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that it's not just Arabs, okay? It's definitely young voters, too. It's not just Arabs. It's not just Muslims. There's a shit ton of young voters that are on college campuses, both in Ann Arbor and also in Wayne State. Is that what is the name of the school? Like in Detroit, like in Wayne County. There are so many college students that are already upset with Joe Biden's performance, and his age is a major concern. But then beyond that, they're also extra angry now because of the Gaza stuff.
So that's not I'm looking for an alternative. There's an alternative right there. That's an I'm mad at you vote for the most part. Or you don't like
Wayne
votes.
State and Detroit, WMU and Kalamazoo and MSU and Lansing.
Jonah was just talking about this, and I think this is the fascinating debate as we go forward. At the moment, only 7% of the vote. Let's be patient with the results. But Nikki Haley's not winning any counties. Donald Trump's getting 64% of the vote. So the governor can clearly make the argument, about a third of Republicans here. We'll see what that number ends up. But a third here, 40% in my home state of South Carolina, 43% in New Hampshire don't want Donald Trump. She's right. The math supports that. However, that's winning, and that's getting the delegates. 55 delegates at stake tonight. 16 of them are supposed to be awarded based on the primary results. But we're going to have 2 Republican conventions. If you want to go to a place where the Republican Party, the Trump effect, election denial, that has completely destroyed what used to be a strong, functioning Republican Party, go to the state of Michigan. They have 2 Republican parties. They're fighting in court over which one's the real one. Both of them will award delegates. Donald Trump will probably get all of them, and then they'll fight it out in court.
It is interesting, though, to consider the fact that tonight we really are interested in who is not voting for the person that's going to win. Right? Who is not voting for Donald Trump? Who is not voting for Joe Biden on non-committed, because that exposes weaknesses for both men.
What's the point of voting uncommitted? Like, they'll either not vote or vote for Biden either way. Brilliant analysis, sir. Everything that we've said thus far leading up to the uncommitted vote campaign is actually rendered null and void by the brilliance of this one chatter. Let's hear what Nikki has to say,
Thank you
though.
so much for being on. I want to look at what's happening in
It's called pressure.
tonight. Set expectations, if you would. What are you hoping for when results are in Michigan?
Well, obviously, our goal
me
is
tell you
to
what
be
she
as
expects.
competitive as possible. That's what this has always been. But look at what's happened in Michigan. You look back in 2012, Michigan was such a bright spot. I was there. They were, they had just passed right to work. They were winning seats up and down the ticket. It was just a great time for Michigan. But ever since Donald Trump became president, they've lost the governor. They've lost the state house. They've lost the state senate. The same thing has happened in Minnesota. Now, I was in Colorado earlier today.
Bro, at a certain point, people are going to be like, all right, dude, drop out, you fucking loser. Jesus Christ.
President in 2016. It is a pattern we continue to see. You're seeing the same thing whether you look at all the early states. Donald Trump didn't get 40% of any of the Republican primary vote. It is a problem. He's not bringing people into the party. He's pushing people out of the party. Colorado today has 10% less Republicans than they had before when Donald Trump was president. And so this is just a pattern we continue to see.
Governor, I hear you sharpening even more your criticism against Donald Trump. But what about you? How do you want to do tonight?
What we want to, obviously we want to do well. I mean, that's the focus of this and all the Super Tuesday states is let's just keep going and running through the tape as much as we can. I mean, I was, in Minnesota this morning. I was in Colorado this afternoon. I'm now in Utah. I mean, that's the goal, is to try and hit as many Super Tuesday states as we can. But look, Donald Trump campaigned in Michigan for 8 years. I campaigned for 2 days. So our goal has been to try and reach as many people as we can, but we know he's got the advantage in that. But more than that, what we're trying to tell everyone, whether it's in Michigan, whether it's the Super Tuesday states coming forward, is look at what has happened. First, you've got Donald Trump. He can't win a general election. Look at the Marquette poll. It showed recently he's margin of error. I defeat Joe Biden by 18 points. But more than that, look at what's happened to the Republican Party. The Republican Party is now not just changing based on tone. It's changing based on policy.
Like what?
No longer is there any talk about fiscal responsibility. That used to be a pillar for the Republican Party. Yet you've got Donald Trump, who put us $8 trillion in debt.
Oh, God.
More than any other president.
She's such
You've
a
got
Democrat,
Republicans now
dude.
who opened up earmarks and pet projects again in Congress, passing through 7,000 of them last year. Donald Trump's not talking anything about shrinking government, stopping spending, cutting out the...
Because it's dumb as fuck. He knows that it's stupid. That's why he hits the fucking racism line all the time.
Of our alliances. Now you've got Donald Trump basically saying he's going to tell Putin to go and invade our allies who stood with us after 9/11. It's all a shit.
You want to know why the real truth, the God's honest truth? You want to know why the Republicans don't fucking talk about fiscal responsibility? Because Democrats don't actually push for anything that requires the Republican Party to basically turn around and eradicate. Okay? Our social safety nets are already so ascetic that there's no more genuine need from even capital owners to fucking advocate to further erode the social safety nets. Because the social safety nets that do currently exist at this point are basically just like Social Security and the marginal, like the bare minimum social safety net necessary so that there's no fucking riots. Okay? It's so cooked.
Races up and down the ticket. The RNC is now about Donald Trump. They made that very clear. So now that's become his legal slush fund. Do we not see what's happening here? And this is the issue, Dana, of all of this. The reason I fight is for my kids and your kids.
My dad's not a billionaire. He's a quadrillionaire.
They've gone through COVID. They look at the fact that there's $34 trillion in debt. They don't know what that means to
Wait,
them.
what the fuck?
They don't know how they're going to get a job.
How did this person go from I'm a 22-year-old trans woman in the Midwest blue state. I have the opportunity to move to Canada. Should I move or should I stay here and try to organize and make things better for other trans people who don't have that opportunity? To Hasan, isn't your dad a billionaire? How does one's brain break so fucking hard? All it takes is like no, dude. All it takes is like one dude on Twitter to be like, yeah, his dad is a billionaire. I saw one thing on Twitter and I was like, this guy, everything he's saying is fucking, there's random account. Everything he's saying is correct. And everything Hasan is saying must be a lie.
What does it say about your party?
We have got to
that
get off
they're
the ship and start going forward.
What does it say about your party that, with respect, they're not buying what you're selling, given the results that we've seen so far?
We've only seen a handful of states vote. I mean, look, I have said this before. As much as the media wants to jump ahead, we're taking this one state, one day at a time. That's what this is about. You know, if I got out when y'all were talking about it earlier, New Hampshire, South Carolina, whenever, it would be the longest general election race in presidential history. Still, if I got out today, it'd be the longest general election race in history. America is blessed to be a democracy. Let people vote. Now, in the next week, we're going to watch 20 states and territories vote. Let's let that happen.
Governor,
we are blessed to live in a country where hope still reigns, and we need to look for that hope. We need to look for that America we want our kids to have, and we need to fight for it, and I'm going to fight for it.
The America that our children want is one where they care about the deficit, okay?
This race through Super Tuesday.
I mean, we are in all the Super Tuesday states.
It's funny because even if your dad was a billionaire, it doesn't exactly change the ideas that most of us agree with. And if your dad was a billionaire, it would make no sense for you to advocate for what you advocate for. So it's weird. Yeah. It's I don't even know. I don't know at this point. I think it's just like people are just like trying to add on because the house stuff didn't work. The car stuff didn't work. So now they're just like adding on to it. It's the same cycle over and over again. I've already made up my mind, you know, like most people have already made their decision. Like they either are like, yeah, fuck this guy. I don't like him. He's fake. He must be fake. No one is going to fucking advocate for these things that they advocate for. Or they've decided that like it's all understandably bullshit and who gives a shit. You know? The real situation here, of course, is that we need Nikki right now, okay? Maybe your choice of car wasn't the best. Why? Why? No, like seriously, why? What does my consumption say about me in that regard? Doesn't mean anything. What has changed about my politics? Think. You know? You chewing on that Turkish gum? No, it's nicotine gum. We need you, Nikki, right now. They want you to be rich and a right-wing grifter. They can't wrap their heads around you being comfortable and a decent person. Yeah, I just, you know, it is what it is. As if people didn't shit.
Trump, obviously, there were a fair number of people who wanted to make that vote. And I would also stress, we saw the Ann Arbor vote. This is an issue not just with the Arab American community, but it's an issue with younger voters, which is a problem nationally by motivating these younger voters and some African American voters. So I think this is clearly an issue. I think it's one of the reasons why he was eager to say yesterday he thought that a ceasefire was within reach.
You know, Turner, you
I was just there.
People
yeah, he's eager to say that to
Why do you
fucking
think that's not
try
a vote
and
for Trump?
It's not.
change the
Anderson,
outcome today in Michigan a little bit.
For Trump. And I believe that Governor Whitmer is being disingenuous at best, lying at worst, in
It's
terms
crazy
of
to have
telling
Nina
the
Turner on
voters
CNN.
in Michigan
it's
that a
awesome.
vote for uncommitted is a vote for Donald J. Trump when Donald J. Trump is not on the ballot. This is a primary. And the last time I checked, we often, especially Democrats, we talk about the democratic process, small d, and people being able to express themselves in a primary as a bedrock. And then, though, to try to guilt those voters to not vote uncommitted when that is an option that they have on the Michigan ballot. I was just in Dearborn on Sunday. I was with Congresswoman Tlaib at a Free Palestine, ceasefire event. Hundreds of people in that room. I got a chance to talk to some individuals, and they are really upset. And some will, I know some of this the points have been made, but some people are willing to just let Donald J. Trump win. And their point.
Do you see that Ludwig was saying that people were attacking him for taking down the MAGA mail from yesterday? He told me they were sending him death threats for taking down the MAGA mail from yesterday. Just the most normal anti-Hasan fans out there. Just well-adjusted and normal people. Just, that's what normal people do. It's just like, that's how it works, guys. Keep it up. You guys doing a great job.
That are voting uncommitted. The fact remains that there are a few things. One, this president has been working diligently towards a ceasefire. He has been working diligently towards humanitarian aid. And those things have to be recognized, and maybe it's a job of messaging from the White House. We know he just came out recently saying that this was something that could happen in the upcoming weeks. But the fact still remains that this is, if you look at the results from tonight, right, and I think back to 2012, David knows this better than I do, but in 2012, there were about 20,000 people that came out and voted uncommitted for Barack Obama. And he still won over Mitt Romney, who's a native of Michigan, by 9 points. And so while I do believe that there are certain changes that have to be made from this White House, this is not anything that you need to put your blinkers on or throw your hands up and say, oh my God, this is something that is going to change the trajectory of the race. Because at the end of the day, and I think Nina will agree with me on this, voting uncommitted today is an exercise of your little d capabilities and your little d democratic values. But it's totally different.
Kai's in Taiwan? Yeah, I heard. Bro, he is literally unifying, dude. Didn't we make jokes about this? Like that he was going to
Go to Mexico.
Didn't I remember like riffing about this a while back? I don't know, like talking about how he's gonna what the yeah, Taiwan. The fuck was it? What was I saying? We said Taiwan, but what else did we say? We were just anyway. Go to China already? You hate to see someone else living your dream? True. Chinese Kai Pei. What's the joke and why is Kai in Taiwan? This is his buddy, I think, that he met in Japan or something, and he's from Taiwan. So he went to go visit him.
The man who got cheated on the stage.
Oh yeah, he good. Yeah, he got it right, man.
How the fuck you even contact like?
He hit me, like I just hit him up.
Yo, that's crazy.
Chat, oh yeah, know. I don't know if y'all know, right? But the guy who got cheated on, bro, he's like good right now, chat. Like he's
he living a life right now.
Yeah, bro.
Yo,
like
no cap.
He's making music.
Wait, what? Is this for real? Or are you guys fucking around? Hunter Schafer was one of the 50 arrests at JVP New York 30 Rock action disrupting Biden's appearance. I don't think that's real. Is that real? No, I don't believe that. I'm having a hard time believing that. There's no way, dude, come on. I mean, I want to believe it, but I don't think that's real. I think that's someone else. It's real? No, this doesn't prove it. What the fuck are you talking about? Hunter Schafer attending Jewish Voice for Peace moments before she got arrested? There ain't no fucking way, dude. Wait. Wait, what? Wait, no. No, I think it's just someone that looks like her. There's no way. There is no fucking way. This happened last night, by the way. So this happened last night, no? Like the Jewish Voice for Peace protest at 30 Rock, that happened last night when Biden was doing the secret Seth Meyers. Listen, why are you not accepting it could be real? Why am I not accepting it's real? Because I feel like this would be major fucking news. And people would have written about it. And it wouldn't be just on fucking Twitter. Look at her story. Who is Hunter Schafer? Hunter Schafer is an incredibly famous. Why is Hasanabi not blindly believing this? Yeah, because it seems unbelievable. That's why. Hunter Schafer is a phenomenal trans actress who was in Euphoria. She's also like I mean, she's done a bunch of modeling campaigns and stuff like that. Hideo Kojima is a major fan of Hunter. Hunter posted it on her IG story. No. Wait, what? Wait, what the fuck is going on? Why isn't this literally on like... Wait, why do you guys send me this fucking post? Is she tagged in it? She's not tagged in it. She's in movies and shit. Like, that's crazy. She's in... Dude, guys. Pop Base covered it. Must be true. Nah. Even her fan accounts are saying it's her. Hunter Schafer getting arrested after fearlessly joining a pro-Palestine movement in New York today. She's so real. I feel like I'm being gaslit. Someone said, we support they. The guy trying to be nice. That's so funny. Dude who doesn't fully get it. But has the energy in the right direction. Oh, that's so funny, dude. Jesus Christ. It's like the Joe Brandon, how many genders are there? At least 3. It's that same energy. Someone check on Hideo-san. Let me tell you something. Hideo-sama is already a Che Guevara stan. But yeah, that'd be wild if she flew back from Milan Fashion Week instantly to go join a Jewish Voice for Peace protest. So Look at the mole on her cheek. It's her. I think you guys are being crazy. It could be real, but I would be very shocked. For two reasons. One, because this is like pretty big pop culture news in general, especially because like Hollywood is notoriously not too great on those who vocally oppose Israel. No matter how genocidal Israel gets, look at Melissa Barrera. I think it's just a girl that looks like her. So, who is Hunter Schafer? Don't recognize him. This is Hunter Schafer. Anyway, I think people are just like getting excited. But like you would also see, I think if it was her, you would have seen probably like one, TMZ would be the one breaking the story. They're all over this shit. And two, there's the other photo from the protest, please. I saw the other photo from the protest. Anyway, I think it's crazy. I mean, maybe. But I feel like she would have done something else. Like she would have been more vocal. Who the fuck goes to like a random last second Jewish Voice for Peace protest at 30 Rock as their like first major point of outward activism? You know what I mean? Like I feel like you would have had an Instagram post here and there before you soft launch. You know what I mean? You kind of soft launch your support for Palestine a little bit. You don't even get arrested anymore. So out of touch. I know. Anyway, let's see.
Well, the FBI and white women, what you need to know. Well, the FBI and white women, what you need to know. Well,
Mark Ruffalo seems to get away with being pro-Palestine unfazed. First of all, Mark Ruffalo has been an incredibly famous person for a very long time and also simultaneously has been like a political guy, right? That's a little bit different. You're talking about the motherfucking Hulk here. Like, come on. When are we getting Melissa on stream? I've tried reaching out to her. Like, there are certain people that are already like legendary status in Hollywood and are basically known as like political people, right? John Cusack is another person who's like very vocal, very outspoken. You say that about everyone? What do you mean? I feel like it's a little bit different than like than a celebrity that is not like a celebrity that's like up and coming. Melissa Barrera being a great example of a celebrity that's like up and coming, I guess, that just like got absolutely cooked.
She's for the uncommitted vote. She's of course Palestinian American, someone who's been a very aggressive opponent of the way that this war has been waged and the president's handling of it. I said, will you support Joe Biden in November? She did not respond to that question. And that's going to be the big question for the Biden campaign. Can you win some of these people back when it's not uncommitted on the ballot? It's Biden versus Trump.
I mean, the difference from 2012, of course, is that there's an organized campaign effort here for uncommitted. That wasn't present in 2012.
Run by Rashida Tlaib's sister.
Richard Gere, who was huge, got blacklisted for saying free Tibet in the 1990s? What? Why would anybody get blacklisted in the 90s for saying free Tibet? I thought Richard Gere was not actually blacklisted at all. And it was more like a Scientology thing that people were saying he shoved a gerbil in his ass or some shit. Yeah, saying free Tibet is like a very popular position, or was a very popular position in America. Yeah, I don't care about what he's saying. I like the notion that being fucking free Tibet, pro Tibet, and his views threaten the film's success in the ever lucrative Chinese market is so funny. Why the fuck would he be blacklisted in the 90s? What kind of capital did China have in the fucking 90s, dog? Hello? No, that's just him saying that. That doesn't mean that it's correct. Free Tibet was like a rallying cry for liberals for the longest fucking time. Everybody had, like, in the 90s especially, everybody had like free Tibet stickers and shit like that. Yeah. The free Tibet position back then is basically like the Israel has a right to defend itself position now. I'm not even saying, like, I'm not even talking about like any harm or something like that that is being conducted on the Tibetan population. I'm simply stating that, like, its reception from the American audience is always going to be incredibly popular. Most people learned about free Tibet back then through The Simpsons and other pop culture references and still had no idea what the actual situation was. Yeah. No, saying free Tibet is not the same as saying free Palestine. That's crazy. What the fuck? This would mean that, like, Americans in the 90s were pro-China. Okay? In the 90s. Like, Americans in the 90s didn't have all too strong opinions on China to begin with. And nowadays, when Americans do have a strong opinion on China, it certainly isn't pro-China. What the fuck? Yeah, they held a concert, dude. Organized in 1996, the first concert was held in June in San Francisco and featured acts such as the Beastie Boys, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Bjork, Smashing Pumpkins, Cibo Matto, Rage Against the Machine, A Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, Buddy Guy, and John Lee Hooker. It drew 100,000 people and raised over 800,000 for Tibetan social justice causes. Additional concerts were held until 2003, generating public awareness about the Tibetan independence movement, particularly amongst young people. The concerts helped spur the growth of Students for a Free Tibet worldwide. Advocating for the reversal of the 1950s annexation of Tibet by the People's Republic of China and the separation and independence from Tibet. Independent Tibet. What's this? CIA and MI6 activities in Tibet. Stop. Let's get back to the Michigan.
Look at that. Just look at that. This is the Republican contest so far. The Virgin Islands down here as well. And so if you look at this right now, Donald Trump, like him or not, has every right to make the case, I'm winning in the heartland. I'm winning in the heartland again. I won in New England. I won in the South. I won out West by convincing margins. I'm going to be the Republican nominee. Everyone, including Governor Haley, should recognize that fact. That will be his argument. Of course, she makes the argument, no, a third or more of the party keeps voting against him. They need a voice. I'm going to stay in. A week from tonight, when you have a bunch of states voting on Super Tuesday, I think will be probably the last defining test of that. If you're the
Bro, if you think Gear said that he's being blacklisted now as of like 2017, because of China's increased importance in the U.S. film industry. Wait, what? What is this? Hold on. Gear saying he's being blacklisted now as of like 2017 because of China's increased importance in the U.S. film industry. That's a little bit more believable, but I think his fall off was way before recently. Like his fall off happened. I thought it was like some fucking false rumors being spread by Scientology. I thought it was like a Scientology thing. So I don't know why the fuck he's like hitting the it's actually China that fucking blacklisted me type shit. Yeah, his own personal explanation is ridiculous.
you can lose 30,000, but I'll make this point. You can't lose a big slice of your base because you see that number? Donald Trump lost Michigan in 2020. Look at that 2.64 million. In 2016, he won it with 2.2 million. Donald Trump got more votes in several of the battleground states in 2020 than he did in 2016 when he won them. The Democrats just turned out more votes. Biden was more successful with young voters, more successful with Arab Americans, more successful in the suburbs, and Anderson. So that's the challenge. The two front runners are going to win tonight. We know that. The question is, how deep are the weaknesses?
Yeah. And we're going to be looking at that very closely. Let's go to CNN's Jeff Zeleny in Dearborn, Michigan right now. He has at an event for Democratic advocates of that protest vote for uncommitted. So, Jeff, what is the feeling there about how the protest is going? What level of protest do they expect to see?
A Jewish guy from Detroit, right? From Michigan.
Well, Anderson, this event began with a moment of silence
I'm
for all
really
of the children who have been slain in Gaza. After that, it really erupted in applause. You can hear perhaps behind me here now, former Congressman Andy Levin is on the stage right now, sort of offering a roadmap from here. He says this is not the end, this is the beginning. And that is the sentiment that we are getting here at the Adonis restaurant, a Middle Eastern restaurant in Dearborn, the heart of the Arab American community, the Muslim American community here in Michigan. And there is a sense that they have already won a success. Regardless of the number of votes, they believe they've gotten President Biden's attention. Indeed, they have. But Anderson, they are just going to go forward with this. They said they plan to pressure him over the next 8 months. So this
Bro, I cannot understand anything.
Effort here certainly now is just beginning, not ending, Anderson.
I can't hear anything. I can't hear a damn thing he's saying, bro. Who the fuck's doing the audio over there? Jesus Christ.
Hear from President Biden, I think it was just yesterday, saying that his national security advisor had seemed to indicate that there was movement on a potential ceasefire or prolonged cessation. That was not echoed, certainly by the Palestinian side or even officials in Israel.
Yeah, look, I don't know exactly what happened there. The fact that he was standing there in an ice cream parlor with an ice cream cone in his hand. No, well, with Seth Meyers, yeah. But it suggested to me that he was maybe going out on his own on that one, that he wasn't, that he, and probably because he understood that this was going on. But so I don't know. It could be that that was a planned play. It seemed like a weird place to do it. If it wasn't, I bet you there was some heavy gasps of exasperation.
In the National Security Council?
Yes, yeah,
Probably
exactly.
screaming into a pillow. And it is, I think it was very spontaneous. Obviously, that wasn't something that was a planned moment. Reporters just shout questions and he answers. But it is different than how they've handled the last ceasefire that happened. The White House was so careful to talk about it until it was actually official, because we've seen them come close to having a ceasefire and then for it to fall apart. And so Ro Khanna, a congressman who's been in Michigan stumping for Biden, who previously had not called for a ceasefire, is now calling for one. He said he did believe that was intended to try to kind of blunt this momentum towards the uncommitted vote tonight.
Yeah. But I mean, just think about it. I mean, you talked about a snapshot in time, and Nina was talking about the process playing out, and we still have 9 months.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if this president is able to continue to work towards humanitarian aid for Gaza, we know that Donald Trump has cut $200 million in aid to Palestine. If this president's able to secure the hostages, if he's able to actually land a cessation of fire in the Middle East and still continuously advocate for a two-state solution, then you have a different playing field between now and then. What these voters are doing is raising their voices and saying, this is an issue that matters to us tonight. This is an issue that matters to us tomorrow, and the White House needs to listen. And I think the White House is listening to that message. But, you know, this is, if he's able to reel off these successes, then tonight actually will be a success for all, and you'll have a different outcome come November, because I'll pass it to Nina or whomever can help me understand this. But I don't think for many voters who are voting uncommitted that they're going to vote uncommitted and then say Donald Trump is my choice. I think this is more complicated than that.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Bakari. I mean, no one that I interface with said that they wanted to vote for Donald J. Trump. There is a however here. And I think sometimes as we talk about this issue, we're centering President Biden. We are centering former President Donald J.
I don't feel vindicated about how much the media rhetoric has changed since October 7th. I knew all of this was going to happen, and anyone who has ever paid attention to Israel's actions over the course of the past 10 years knew exactly what was going to happen. It took far too long for the media to get here, and I don't feel vindicated at all. I just want there to be change, real change.
Dearborn when I was in Dearborn. So we get to be comfortable and talk about this like these people are widgets when they are in fact suffering. And I am young enough to remember, colleagues, when Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib and also Congresswoman Cori Bush called for a ceasefire very early on. They were called abhorrent. Now, fast forward to all of these bodies laying in the wake and people who are living through this every single day.
Yeah.
By the way, there's also been slaughter in Israel.
I was going to say.
So there's a lot of pain on both sides.
No, I'm not.
Shut the fuck up, Anderson.
But I'm talking about the politics
Bitch.
of this tonight. What to you would be a victory, as somebody was calling for this uncommitted vote, what to you would be a victory tonight to get that message across?
I'm not denying that pain. All I'm saying that at a certain point after October the 7th, it becomes clear. I mean, you have a right-wing prime minister.
Right. We don't need to debate the issue.
But you understand what I'm saying? I'm not denying anybody's pain. What I am saying is that this president and our country has the power to say to Netanyahu, we need a permanent ceasefire. The only time hostages...
reason, though, if I can push back here,
wait, one more point. The only time hostages were released is when we had that brief ceasefire. That is another reason why we need a permanent ceasefire.
I also have to remind people we had a ceasefire prior to October 7th. Yeah. Right? I mean, that's a point. And I get centering people, and I completely understand.
Yeah, exactly, bro. What did that ceasefire look like? It was death and destruction and misery for the Palestinians. Come on, Nina, step in.
That's what I'm. And as we look at because we can debate and talk about this on a level of humanity, which we cannot.
Thank you for the 50 gifted subs. Holy moly, reminding me that at the top of the hour there's a 3-minute ad break, and I forgot.
This White House can deliver, and I think if they're able to deliver, now if they miss. Then you have a totally different scenario.
And here's the reality. If I may briefly defend Joe Biden, there hasn't been a day since October 7th that he hasn't been working around the clock, his National Security Council, his State Department, with the Qataris, with the Israeli government to try to come to a cessation of hostilities.
I mean, he thinks the president is...
Oh, my God. They're fucking doing damage control in real time right now. It's crazy.
They have allowed this sort of discontent with young progressives to take so much steam that you're seeing it play out in real time. And a problem that they might run into, if this is something that ends up...
They're forced to reckon with the dissatisfaction that people feel, something that we've been saying non-fucking stop for the past couple of months now. So they're like trying to, one, report on the dissatisfaction while simultaneously still do their due diligence for the fucking for the administration.
If it's right now it's 30. I don't have we're looking at if it's 30% for Haley, what message does that send?
This is a large gap. And going on to Super Tuesday, they're showing polls coming back where President Trump's up by 40 points, 50 points.
Why the fuck
he's
is
on
Lee
pace to have a
Zeldin
very
there?
big,
What the
night,
fuck?
next Tuesday. And I would just say it's something that's really important for, and really both parties, all parties, to pay attention to this conversation we're having. October 7th and what's happened since has been the highest profile issue that can be a motivator.
God, I fucking
But
hate
what's really
CNN
important,
so much.
digging deeper, the Arab American community, just like all Americans, they're concerned about other issues. So, if you live in Wayne County, your cost of housing is higher than the state average. You're concerned about the cost of groceries. You have an American dream of being able to afford your first home. You might be concerned about crime just as much as your neighbor. And the underlying issues, really, by the way, for any group we talk about, it's important whether you are President Trump's campaign manager, President Biden's campaign manager, that you understand what else is motivating all of these people and why is it that they are responding as much to the call. Because if they were happy with President Biden across the board, other than this issue, I don't think that we would be seeing a number like this on Young Committee.
I don't know about that, Congressman. I mean, I think that you're going to see an elevated vote in those communities, and it's very much related to this issue. And so the question is, how much more elevated is that uncommitted vote in those communities? I suspect it's going to be much higher. But I just have to, one last word on this, Nina.
Don't you worry that discontent in Michigan is going to lead to a Trump election? Or, yeah. You know who else should worry about that? The motherfucking Democratic Party. You know what I mean? That's the point, kind of. I hope people understand that. That is the point of this. Having Alyssa Farah on this panel is insane too. Her dad ran one of the most psycho websites ever to exist. It was QAnon shit 15 years before QAnon. Alyssa wrote articles for that conspiracy shit site. Yeah. Noisy with another 50 big ones. DNC should be the ones worrying about that if their job is to win fucking elections, but their job is not really. I mean, I'm sure they'll get the worst lessons out of this and will fucking complain that this is Bernie Bro 2.0.
Let's go back to Jake in D.C. Jake?
Thanks, Anderson. Let's bring you a key race alert because we have more votes coming in on the Democratic side. President Joe Biden, the incumbent, with an estimated 13% of the vote in, has 79.1% of the vote. That's 106,127 votes. That's 85,391 votes ahead of uncommitted. Uncommitted has 15.5% of the vote. That's 20,721. What's significant about this, we should note, is that every primary, there are about 20,000 votes for uncommitted on the Democratic side and the Republican side, every primary. So they've hit the floor of 20,000 with only 13% of the estimated vote in, meaning uncommitted is going to have a night like we haven't seen in a long, long time. On the Republican side, Michigan in the...
Honestly, this is the none of the above election. Nevada, none of the above defeating Nikki Haley. Uncommitted, reaching like record-breaking numbers. It says everything you need to know about how... It says everything you need to know about how Americans kind of feel about the situation.
Vote. That's, again, with 13% of the estimated vote in. John King... we should note, yes, there was in 2008 because the Michigan Democratic Party went against the rules. So Hillary Clinton was the only one that was in the contest. So Edwards voters and Obama voters voted non-committed. This is different than that. That was a lot of uncommitted. This is different than that. Uncommitted, we don't know how many of the people voting uncommitted are voting as a protest of President Biden's support for Israel in the way that Netanyahu...
For the record, I just want to point something out here that's very important. Okay? I want people to understand something. The notion that this is the notion that this is wrong, the uncommitted campaign is wrong, is something that you're going to hear from diehard liberals in the upcoming days. They're going to say, like, that's really fucked up. But remember, they said it's really fucked up to protest. They said it's anti-Semitic to protest against Israel. They said it's really fucked up to vote uncommitted. They said, oh, you don't want the Democrats to win because you want Donald Trump to win. This is the safest possible way to operate within the confines of the Democratic Party to send a message to the Democratic Party. At a certain point, you have to remember, like, a lot of these people don't give a fuck. Okay? They just don't care. They just don't want you to vote or say anything. And if you're pro-Biden, they want you to be sufficiently pro-Biden. They want you to sing his praises. They want you to be enthusiastically voting for him. The uncommitted coalition, Democrat, Republican, pissed off. What the fuck?
How much of that is we're just mad at you, we'd like some attention, and we'd like the policy to change, and we'll see if the policy does change or if there are improvements on the ground there. What percentage, though? There are some who say, as a matter of principle, they're saying that now. The election's 8.5 months away, but they say, I won't do it. I cannot vote for Joe Biden because of what he's standing by Netanyahu. Again, there are Haley voters coming out of the polls saying, I cannot vote for Donald Trump. I will not vote for Donald Trump. It's not that they don't mean it today. The question is, in time, most people tend to go back to their partisan home come November, especially in a consequential election. But I'll raise a point we haven't talked about tonight. Not only will you have the Republicans go back to Trump, and I'll just show the number. She's shy of 30%. And do the uncommitteds go back to Biden? What are the third-party options in Michigan? Right? What are the third-party? Is there somebody there you can go to? In the last two presidential elections have been so close. In 2020, the third-party candidates did not make the impact that they did in 2016. That doesn't mean they won't in 2024, as we see Robert Kennedy Jr., Cornel getting on at least 3 or 4 ballots. Cornel West saying that he'll have some progress to talk about there in a couple of weeks or so. So we need to watch that. In a place where you have...
I'm voting for RFK Jr., folks, because I want someone who is just as aggro on defending Israel, but also is an anti-vaxxer and is anti-Semitic, like outwardly anti-Semitic. Says things like Ashkenazi Jews and the Chinese made the coronavirus together to kill white people. That's the shit I'm on. You know what I mean? That's what I like.
Just look. This is where Donald Trump gets 72. This is where Donald Trump gets 77. This is where Donald Trump gets 60. This is where Donald Trump gets 72. In most of this, Donald Trump's going to run it up. So you see a 66% percentage for him right now. Unless she makes up some ground down here in Detroit and in the suburbs right around it, that percentage could actually grow.
Yeah. Could you bring up the Democratic results again? Because it's such an excellent point you just raised. Because there's been a lot of talk about third-party candidates like Robert Kennedy Jr. getting a lot of attention. But as you know, the real risk is on Biden's left, his left flank. And whether it is Cornel West or someone, Jill Stein, someone like that, running a very clear campaign against Israel, in favor of Palestinian rights, against Biden.
What about
we don't
Cenk?
know how many of these people are going to then vote third party.
Bro.
But it could be a lot.
Bro, they don't want to talk about Cenk because they're afraid of the Cenk
protest
momentum.
vote for the uncommitted people. This is about flexing their muscles and showing the Biden campaign, look how many of us there are. This is Michigan. You will either win Michigan or lose Michigan based on how you act towards us. That's the message they are trying to send. I want to go to David Chalian right now for a second, just to get an update on the delegate count, because obviously this is, at the end of the day, a race for delegates. David?
Yes, Jake. So we are able to start allocating some of the delegates on the Democratic side based on the vote already coming in. So there are 117 delegates at stake tonight in Michigan on the Democratic side. You see it there in the upper right-hand corner. Joe Biden now has 27 delegates. We have 90 delegates that are so far unallocated. Dean Phillips has 0 delegates. If you look at delegates to date in the Democratic contest, you'll see that Joe Biden has 118
I love
delegates.
this music playing in the background, dude. Like, wow. It's this, guys, I promise, this is a very serious primary, okay? This is a very serious primary. There's some serious political opposition to Joseph Robinette Biden. Just make no mistake. Don't look at the picture. I know it sounds funny.
18. How do we get
I know it sounds funny when you just look at the picture, but if you hear the music,
in Michigan? Delegates
then
are
it becomes way
awarded
funnier.
proportionally. So you need at least 15% of the vote statewide or in a congressional district to win delegates. And I do want to note, since we're spending so much time talking about the uncommitted vote tonight, if uncommitted actually wins delegates, meaning they get to that 15% threshold statewide or in a congressional district, those delegates will go to the convention in Chicago unbound. They will not be bound to anybody. And obviously, we will watch as the process plays out as to who those humans are, the delegates that go through a convention process.
Oh my God, I stole this from chat, but I'm going to say it. Yeah, CNN might as well be China the way they're doing Uyghur erasure right now, dude. Where the fuck is my man Jank? God damn, son.
David Chalian. So is it unfair of me to extrapolate that there's 15% of the estimated vote in, and we have more than 20,000. Is it unfair for me to extrapolate, wow, this number could get 80,000, 100,000?
I don't think it's unfair at all to extrapolate. It's going to get significantly bigger. How big? Just one quick point. You know, there's a lot of gray up here. That means no votes yet. Those are smaller rural counties, so there's not a lot of math there. However, we have nothing yet, barely nothing, 1% of the vote from Wayne County, which is by far the largest population center in the state, and by far the base of this anger at the president in Detroit, in Dearborn, elsewhere around there. So without a doubt, that number is going to grow quite significantly. Without your percentages, absolutely, if it continues to grow, if it stays consistent, as more votes come in, if it stays around 15% or so, you bet it's going to get up there.
And 100,000, sorry to interrupt, but 100,000, like Joe Biden won Michigan with 154,000 votes. Donald Trump in 2016 won Michigan with roughly 10,000 votes. Right. Those kinds of numbers really, really matter. We are standing by for even more actual votes to come in from Michigan, tracking support for President Biden in the Democratic primary and for the protest vote for uncommitted. Up next, we're going to talk to a key member of Michigan's congressional delegation who has been trying to warn the president for a long, long time. He has a problem in her state. We'll be right back. Backroom deal.
Oh my God. Jank for Prez. You know it, baby. All right, stand back on why. There's nothing going on. Hi, Hasan. Just got back home from my 15-hour shift on an oil rig. I'm glad to see your soul has not been sucked out. Dude, I love you, man. I really do. Like, one, the assumption in my mind that you actually fucking worked on an oil rig for 15 hours and the first thought you had was like, let me go to this fucking socialist political commentator's broadcast to get a fucking quick quip off on him is hilarious to me. Okay? At least I'm advocating for your best interest every goddamn day. You saw a clip out of fucking context. And you came in here, if you are actually a literal fucking oil rig worker, okay? You came in here and you're like, you know what, dude? You fucking piece of shit. I'm going to come in and, I'm going to come in and take one on you. Definitely. I definitely believe that you're an oil rig worker. But also beyond that, I'm still going to be your biggest advocate. You know what I mean? Big oil rig community. No, there's hella people that work in construction and shit that watch me, that work in delivery, that work in a shit ton of different jobs that are fucking grueling and awesome. Awful, not awesome. A brother of mine is actually an oil rig worker and he's a Hasanabi head.
Seems to me.
Well, Anderson, right now they're relatively quiet. Just remember, this was an anticipated win. He barely went to Michigan. Since he announced his candidacy, he has only been to the state 3 times. He's not even there tonight. He's gone to every other state so far on primary or caucus night. Instead, he's just dialing into a watch party to give a call. Now, that's because he was increasingly confident. But one thing that his team is going to use this race for is to really examine the data as it looks towards a general election rematch with President Joe Biden. And one thing they're going to particularly look for is those union voting households. Remember, Donald Trump and his team are setting up a battle in 2024 for those working class voters that really helped propel Trump to the White House in 2016, but favored Biden back in 2020. Now, part of that is driving a wedge between Biden and organized labor. We saw Donald Trump in Michigan last week. He was talking about how migrants crossing the border was bad for workers. In September, he visited a non-union shop during an
They are a Ms. kid who uses the word golly, so either 14 or 54. Anyway. Teamsters Red Wave? No.
union households from 48% in 2016 to 37% in 2020. But they do believe that they can get some of these rank and file union members to come back towards Donald Trump. We know the United Auto Workers has endorsed Joe Biden. The Teamsters, though, has not yet endorsed. They met with Donald Trump last month. Led to kind of mixed results. We heard some rank and file members were happy. We also heard that an executive board member called him a scab and an insurrectionist.
No union man is voting Trump. You're wrong, actually. A lot of union men vote for Donald Trump. I mean, it might be a little different this time around with Sean Fain in the lead at the UAW. There are plenty of fucking Teamsters and plenty of UAW guys who will still vote for Donald Trump. They do. In their minds, which I kind of understand, they're like, the Democratic Party's not giving me shit. At least the Republicans are protecting my guns. Or they watch Fox News and the Republican Party's like basically doing something. Teamsters donate 50K to Trump. Sean O'Brien is a conservative. I'll just say it like this. He is no Sean Fain. I wouldn't say he's a conservative. I'm in IBEV. Literally everyone's voting Trump law. Yeah, IBEV is another one. But yeah. Listen, I ride with the Teamsters, as you guys know. Where is it? Okay. I'm in a union with a ton of people who don't understand the value of our union. Yeah. I know one union rep says these guys would build a concentration camp for a government contract.
Ballot. We'll just have to watch and see what happens there. But they're saying that this is a problem for Trump as she has lost the Michigan primary.
Yeah, thanks so much. Back with the team here in New
There's
York.
a lot of, there are a lot of fucking union, there's a lot of union rank and filers that 1,000% will vote for Donald Trump and did vote for Donald Trump and will do it again. And can't wait to fucking do it again, as a matter of fact. That's why I always say, like, unions are not about, left politics or right politics, although obviously trade unionism is oftentimes regarded as a anti-capitalist thing. Doesn't mean it's socialist. However, having said that, it's not about left or right. It's about what's right. It's about what's fair.
Or inside the bubble, the economy is doing well because it's doing well for people who have the greatest amount, but it's not really doing well. There's a disconnect between what's happening in the bubble and what's happening in the streets. And to the extent that both the former president and the current president are going to be fighting for those votes, and it's going to be the tale of two stories.
You're wrong.
I think that, I agree with that. And I think this president, we talked about messaging. We talked about
unless you're talking about police unions, every action a union takes is diametrically opposed to capital ownership unless they're a corporate union. Okay, unless they're a corporation created union, every action that a union takes is inherently anti-capital. Anti-capitalist does not mean socialist. It does not mean Marxist-Leninist or anything like that. But unions and the way that they exist is absolutely diametrically opposed to the interests of capital. I have some reservations about unions entrenching labor aristocracy. That's all. Okay. Without an organized party, the workers will only achieve trade union consciousness. We don't even have trade union consciousness. It's the first step in the right direction.
Of that vote last time, that's more of an even split right now. And I agree with you that there's a working class issue. It's not just it's not a white non-college issue alone that he's going to have to address.
I work in aerospace, and the amount of union workers that are crazy chumpers is sad. Yeah, I know.
He indisputably has economic.
Personally, I know.
An economic story to tell. But until people feel like the economy is better, and they are beginning to feel that. The question is, by November, will that wash?
To your point, it's hard for me to say Bidenomics is working when people are still having trouble
Murad
with the cost
is not
of
in a
grocery
union,
prices.
guys. He's a fucking engineer. Engineers don't have, for the most part, any fucking unions. We're talking about the dudes on the floor. That's a whole different story.
If his trade policies resonate with them, this is where he's looking back to make ground, because despite objective successes of the Biden economy, there's still things like very high grocery prices, something that immediately hits you in the pocketbook, and it makes people feel like they're worse off than they're actually the macro stats may show. This is the area he is going to be targeting the most. It's talking about your life would be better under me than in this Biden economy.
Can I tell you the other thing that I also don't think gets enough attention in Michigan is they signed new voting laws into law last year in 2023 that significantly expanded early voting and mail-in voting, something that, as you well know, Republicans have struggled with because a lot of Republicans want to advocate for it. Trump has continued to undermine it, and it is something that really could significantly benefit Biden come November. And we see how close the margin has been at times, and that is something that, Democrats control all levers of government in Michigan. They signed that into law. The voters there like it. That's something that Trump has refused to embrace, despite what his advisors want.
I think it's important for Republicans to lean into early voting. If there's a state that allows you to harvest ballots, if they legalized it, even if you opposed legalizing in the first place, well, now it's the law. And that's what we saw in Nevada. A snowstorm hits Reno on Election Day, and then Adam Laxalt doesn't become the senator.
But doesn't the former president continue to rail against mail-in?
I would say that the message that needs to get out to every one of his voters is how important it is to vote early. And it's not just about people who are considered high-propensity voters, people who will come out anyway on Election Day, but the lower propensity voters, to be able to get them out earlier makes your job easier when you're trying to turn out the vote over the course of the last 24, 48, 72 hours. We also saw it recently with the special election in New York 3.
You're out of your mind, dude. Engineers don't need a union. Demand for their labor is enough bargaining power is such a funny take. It's so untrue. That is ridiculous. It really doesn't matter. I'm an engineer, and I know I could leave my job tomorrow and have a job lined up Friday. That's funny, man. That's cool. There are a shit ton of unions or shit ton of engineers in this chat that would love to have a conversation with you about what job market prospects you're looking at. That is so fun. Dude, you are out of control with this take. Okay, number one, it does not matter whether you have better job prospects lined up for yourself, which I would contest. That's number one. Number two, okay? It doesn't matter if you even have better job prospects. If that is actually true, you are still categorically not getting the benefits and payment package that you should be getting devoid of a union. Okay? Market conditions do not actually factor into this conversation at all in a country where there is very little labor power and very little regulation to protect labor in general. I promise you. Said, you are correct, sir. Okay, never mind. He understands it. You still, even if you had a great job market, you still need a union, 100%. But I don't really think that engineers have a phenomenal. I don't think that engineers have a phenomenal job in the way that they were presented back in the day. I think neoliberalism has even captured that sector as well. They're supposed to be like professional, highly degreed, right? Irreplaceable workers. No. Nope. It doesn't hit in the same way that it used to. Every industry will inevitably turn into what is the profession of teaching and nurses.
Right now, the number is approaching 25,000, and what is it? You have with about 16% of the vote in, so it's going to be a sizable uncommitted vote. Is this a surprise to you in any way? And what do you make of this potential impact? Will the White House change course in any way?
So, first of all, it's not a surprise to me. I've been telling people that. We have a campaign called Listen to Michigan with people that want to be listened to. But, as everybody started acting surprised tonight, or we're looking at.
What do you mean? We become like teachers and nurses? People become teachers because of passion. I don't think anybody in this country fucking chooses to be a teacher out of the incredible pay that they're getting. They become a teacher because they love teaching. That's it. And then they start hating teaching anyway because it doesn't pay well. It's one of those fucking jobs where you have to have a lot of skill, you're overworked, and you're underpaid. And it's an absolutely vital profession. It is a necessity to have a productive labor force. And yet, we have crippled this entire nation's supply of teachers. And it fucking sucks. Absolutely fucking sucks. We often talk about how we have to pay people more, or rather that a lot of people that get paid well are getting paid well because it's like a really hard job. Holy, this Hasan is out of time. Oh, come on, dude. I was advocating for teacher salaries, and this guy was about to make a prescient important take. Holy, this Hasan guy is so out of touch, stealing other people's work, watching their videos, and complaining how hard it is. Most capitalistic millionaires self-proclaimed socialist. I am not a socialist. I'm a capitalist. I love capitalism. I love capitalism. I'm a major fan. It's my favorite thing. That's why I'm stealing from the small creator Jake Tapper at CNN. He used every single talking point on Elon Musk. Yeah, I don't understand. Did anything change? I'm gonna unban this guy because he's saying truths that people must hear. I'm a capitalist. I love capitalism. Did anything change about my framework for you? You didn't address any of the points. I'm a capitalist, and I think teachers should be paid better. I think every sector should be paid more. I think we should fund these programs more, and I'm a capitalist. Does this now maybe get you to be? Do you want to agree with my point a little bit more now that I said I'm a capitalist and I love capitalism? Did that work? Fuck it. Yeah, I love capitalism. Top of the hour ad break is upon us. Oof. Capitalism, baby. You're losing your mind? What do you mean I'm losing my mind? The point I'm trying to make that I guess is lost upon you is that at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. But the second point I'm trying to make that is, I guess, lost upon you is that it doesn't matter if I say I'm a capitalist or a socialist. My fundamental principles don't change. The things that I advocate for are not changing. So when someone comes in here and says, you're a capitalist, you have a nice car, you have a nice house. Okay, so what? Let's talk about what I'm talking about. Do you have an issue with what I'm saying? Do you think that people don't deserve health care? Do you think that America's endless fucking conquest for blood is good? I never hear about the things I'm actually talking about. It's always just like me taking a defensive posture seemingly about like my background. And it makes no fucking sense whatsoever. None of these issues ever get addressed. So who cares? Yeah, I'm a capitalist. I love capitalism. So what? Like what did you arrive at? You know what I mean? What did you find? It's always people yelling labels at me and then what they assume those labels entail. It's not even like hypocrisy baiting. It is perceived hypocrisy. So, okay, sure. Like it doesn't make any sense. Maybe all the people who come in and attack you are billionaires.
Trying to figure out how to make sure that what we're seeing in terms of this uncommitted vote doesn't vote third party or stay home or vote for Donald Trump in November.
You know, as you were talking to Congresswoman Dingell, I was thinking about what the Biden administration could do more of. I mean, obviously, we have seen a big shift in rhetoric and policy, as we've been talking about, certainly since right after October 7th. We have seen in the past few weeks Biden administration officials, as she mentioned, go up and try to talk to people in the community. We haven't seen the president himself. And he's good in the room. I mean, he knows how to talk to people. And he knows how to certainly express empathy for people's pain. And so my question is, how quickly after this, regardless of whether the numbers get much, much higher or not, is he going to go to Michigan and not make the mistake, frankly, that the Clinton campaign did, which is not taking Michigan as seriously? Very different issues.
David?
I also thought the other thing that Congresswoman Dingell said that we should keep our mind, she said women are going to be a huge factor here.
She said that a few times.
Yeah, and I think it's important for us to remember, abortion rights was an enormous battle in Michigan. It was part of Governor Whitmer's huge reelection success, flipping the legislature to Democrats. We're not even talking about something like that in the context of this Democratic primary tonight with uncommitted. But I guarantee you that Governor Whitmer is going to make sure the issue of abortion rights is central to this Trump versus Biden campaign in this battleground.
Although she can't make it a referendum because she already
did that.
She already
Yes,
did
good
that
point.
for her own reelection. That's a governor's prerogative. Lots of votes still to count tonight in Michigan. We're tracking them as they come in. Coming up, we're going to talk with a key member of the Biden-Harris reelection campaign as the Democratic protest vote for uncommitted picks up votes. We're back in a moment. Stay with us.
Damn, dude, they're trying to fucking milk this goddamn thing for every ounce of worth here. It's crazy.